Hey guys, what is up? This is Kazi from cleverprogrammer.com and you are watching Codecademy Python tutorials. This is tutorial number 20, so let's talk about where we left off. Okay, so we just finished Battleship. Recall, enjoy that recall, right? That was a big accomplishment. You should have taken some time out to mull that over and think about it, and maybe even be an eager beaver or an overachiever and try to do the extra credit part, okay? However, we are now going to move on. So we are 59% complete. We're about to hit that 60% mark, which is amazing. And we're going to be talking about loops, and loops are super exciting. And this is a beautiful Thursday morning. I made it to my studio and I was super excited to record these for you guys. So hopefully you are also having a very good time right now watching this, and hopefully you're feeling really good too. Hopefully your day has gone well. So let's get to loops and talk about it. While you're here, haha. So they're talking about while loops, right? Their lame jokes always sneak in, and I will always make sure to let you know if there's secret jokes. That's why I'm here. The while loop is similar to an if statement. It executes the code inside of it if some condition is true. However, it keeps doing it, right? That's the only difference between an if statement and a while loop kind of if statement. It's like an if statement, but it's like an if statement that keeps repeating while it's true, right? So while your push-ups are less than 10, keep doing push-ups, right? So for example, I can do something like, let's create some variable called push-ups, set it to 0, and while push-ups is less than 10, print do one more, or keep, do another push-up. And then if the loop ends, then that means that if condition doesn't match, and we can say print good job, you have done 10 push-ups, right? And I can also print what push-up count we are at, just to let us know what's going on. Okay, let's run this. Oh, why is this giving us what's happening here? I'm glad that this happened. I'm really glad that this happened. It's gonna like crash my browser. Oh god. Let's just, stopped. Okay, so while it's stopping, let's talk about what just happened. So why do you think that happened? My browser was about to crash. Something just kept happening on the screen up above me, and apparently we lost control of the whole situation, right? The captain lost control over the ship, and the ship just sank, and now the ship is just broken. Ooh, this is bad. Let's close that. It's not even letting me close the browser. That's how bad it is. Changes may have not been saved. Leave. I don't care. Okay, changes are not saved. We just have to do it again. So let's talk about why that happened, right? So I did print push-ups. I said print do another push-up, right? And then I said print you completed 10 push-ups. So you can even make a health app using this, right, if you want to. But so what just happened? Why did this thing keep on running and essentially crash our computer? Well, what happened is something called an infinite loop, and that happens if your loop doesn't stop. So here's what was happening, okay? How loop works, it just keeps running something over and over again. So we have this while loop, and it keeps running this block of code over and over again until this condition here, right, is false. Until that condition evaluates to false, it'll keep running over and over again. So it goes, initially push-ups is 0, so it goes 0 is less than 10, print 0, and it prints out 0 to the screen, and then it says do another push-up. Then it goes back up to the line 3, which says while push-ups is less than 10. Well, is 0 again less than 10? And yes, it is. So it prints out another 0 where it says push-ups, and it says do another push-up, right? And then push-ups just keep being 0. So if every time push-ups is 0, this statement, what do you think it is? Do you think this statement is false if push-ups is 0 or true? This statement is true because 0 is less than 10. So this statement is true every single time, which means that the loop runs every single time, and there's no such thing as stopping the loop. So what we want to do is just simply increment push-ups, right? So I will print out your push-up count. I will say do another push-up, and then I will say, you've done this many push-ups. I'll put this here because in the start it wouldn't make sense if you've done 0 push-ups. And it says do another push-up. So the first thing you do is you do a push-up. So I increment your push-up count by 1, and then I print out that you've done 1 push-up, and then I say do another push-up. And eventually this thing, the first time the loop runs is 0, then it's 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, then it's 5, then it's 6, 7, and then 8, and then 9, and then the loop stops. Because when it's 10 is less than 10, this statement evaluates to false, so you never get, right, you get 10 here, but, once it's false, this part of the loop does not run, right? So that's the most important thing to keep in mind. That's what stops the loop at the end. And then it just goes to line 9 and says, you completed 10 push-ups. So let's check it out how it works. There you go. 1, do another push-up. 2, do another push-up. 3, do another push-up. Keep going, keep going, keep going till 10. Do another push-up. And it goes, you completed effectively 10 push-ups. Good job. All right, so that was just an example of a while loop, right? So let's check out what they're talking about. Change the loop so it counts up to 9 inclusive, which means include the 9. Be careful not to change or remove the count plus or equal 1 bit. If Python has no way to increase count, your loop could go on forever and become an infinite loop. So we predicted what they're going to do, right? And what they're going to talk about, and we actually already talked about the infinite loop. So you're not going to have that problem. Hopefully not. Okay, so what they're saying is change the loop so it counts up to 9. Hello, I am an if statement, and count is count. So this is going to print out hello, I am an if statement, and count is, and then where it says comma count is going to basically put in 1 here or 2 here, 3 here, something like that. That's what it's going to look like. And this statement is going to run how many times? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This statement will run only 1 time because it's an if statement, okay? And how many times is this going to run? Give you a second to think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Okay? This statement is going to run 5 times because count is 0 the first time, so the block of code runs. Then count is 1, so then the block of code runs. Then count is 2, and then the block of code runs. Then count is 3, and the block of code runs. And then count is 4, and the block of code runs. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 times. And once it says 5, this part evaluates to a false, so the block of code does not run. Because 5 is not less than 5, okay? So they said change it so the loop runs 9. So the loop runs and counts up to 9 inclusive, which means that we want to change this to a 10. That way it counts from 0 all the way to 9 and goes up to but not including 10, okay? Another way you can do it is say 9 here, but say greater than or equal to. That way it's only false if it's above 9, okay? So those are 2 ways to include the 9. This is a more normal way for me. Hello, I am an if statement and count is 0, and you don't see that if statement run again, right? Anywhere. Then you see, hello, I am a while loop and count is blah, blah, blah. So here you see, hello, I am a while loop and count is 0. Hello, I am a while and count is 1. Hello, I am a while and count is 2. So on and so forth. And then ultimately you see count is 9 and then the loop stops. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. Let's go start next lesson. The condition is the expression that decides whether a loop is going to be executed or not. These are the 5 steps to the program. So condition, again, was what I told you, right? Every loop, every if statement is followed by some kind of condition. And while loop is also followed by some condition, right? In our case, this part I'm going to wrap in parentheses. That's our condition. Again, important to know the terminology, right? So instead of hand waving, just be like, oh yeah, I get it. Just make sure that you really understand that that part is called a condition. So then when you refer to it or you hear about it, the information is easier to synthesize for your brain. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's a condition. I know all about those conditions, right? Let's go back. Okay, the while loop checks to see if loop condition is true, right? That's what we have already discussed. It checks if the loop condition is true. Here they created a variable called loop condition and they set it to true. So in the start it's true, right? And then they changed the loop condition to false, and then it goes back here and this is false. So the loop just stops. So this loop, how many times does it run? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer that question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This loop runs only 1 time. Okay, let's test it out. Boom. It's going to give me an error because of that print statement. So let's put parentheses there. And it runs once, almost like an if statement. And it goes, I am a loop, and that's it. If I do not change it to false, then you're going to have an infinite loop, right? If I just say while true, this loop will never stop unless I add maybe a break statement or something like this. Okay. See how the loop checks its condition and when it stops executing? When you think you've got the hang of it, save and submit. I think you've got the hang of it. Let's save and submit. While you're at it, another joke, inside a while loop, you can do anything else. Anything you can do elsewhere, including arithmetic operations. So while you're inside of the if block, a while loop block, you can just write whatever code you want, right? Just like you're normally writing code, except it's just wrapped in a while loop. So you can do print a banana plus, you can do print banana, right? Apple juice, Bobby, John, I like to drink food. It's a fun little sentence. It could be a great password, actually. Good luck breaking that password, right? A lot of the just a tip for you guys who want to have a really strong password but easy to remember, it's actually have a phrase separated by spaces. Those are tremendously hard to get. There is a difficulty for passwords, and apparently those take like trillions of years with the best computing systems and thousands of computers combined trying to guess that password. So those are actually one of the toughest to guess. And it's easy to remember instead of having a password like that. It's going to be really hard to remember, and it's actually not, it's easier to crack than that sentence that I wrote above. Anyways, so let's say we have that sentence here, and if I do run, it's just going to print that. Well, I can just do the same thing while, right, I'll just make something, condition is equal to true, and then I'll say while condition, then do that, and then otherwise print, and then make the condition is equal to false, and that way the loop stops only after running once. And you can see that pretty much the same thing I did outside of the loop I can do inside of a loop. I can also write if statements inside of a loop which are nested by more if statements, which are nested by for loops, which is nested by another for loop. So all this stuff just builds on top of each other, which is why it's so important to understand the fundamentals of it, and then you can nest them together and do whatever kind of logic you want. Generally, just a piece of advice, It's not going to be so useful for you right this second, but if your code is having a lot of if statements underneath it, like lots of indentations underneath each other, it's called like really nested, right? And your code starts to become hard to reason about, it's just a bad idea to have that. It means usually there's something wrong with your logic. If you have tons of if under ifs and loops under loops, it increases the complexity of your code and also increases the complexity in terms of reading it, which means your code is harder to understand and more likely it's going to produce some kind of bugs and it's going to be hard to fix those. So focus on simplicity and make it so it's very readable and understandable, and make sure that you can explain it to other people. Anyways, create a while loop. Whoops. Let's just put this right there. Create a while loop that prints out all the numbers from 1 to 10 squared, each on their own line. Okay, that's simple. So what we're going to do is print, and it's going to run while num is less than or equal to 10, because we want to include the 10. If we didn't want to include the 10, we would say this, and num would only go up to 9, but they want the 10. So I'm going to say less than or equal to 10. And what I will say is print num squared, and then I will increment num. So that way, the first time num will be 1, right? Because that's what it is here. So it's going to do 1 squared, then it's going to be 2, then it's going to be 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and it's going to run the while loop block. Then it's going to be 7, it's going to run the while loop block. And eventually, it'll be 10. And notice that this is still true, which means that this block of code, line 4 and 5, will still run. And then the while loop will say that this is 11, and 11 less than or equal to 10 will evaluate to false. And so this block of code will not run. Okay, hopefully you got that. Let's run it. And there we go. We got 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, right? Square 1, you get 1. Square 2, you get 4. Square 3 squared, right? Just to make sure we are following the math as well. 3 squared, that's just 3 times 3. 4 times 4, right? All of that. So great stuff. Cool. Let's get it. Why isn't that? Okay. It's kind of stuck on my screen there for a second. So we go all the way up to 100 and then we stop. Okay, start next lesson. See where we're at. Cool. Simple errors. A common application of a while loop is to check user input to see if it is valid. So basically what they're saying, I'm just gonna reiterate it pretty much, is constantly keep running the thing while the user input is wrong, right? So you even say the word while naturally while describing that, right? So anytime you see yourself describing these words in English, like just keep running the program while the user is putting in errors. Maybe you can start thinking of there's something like a while loop working in the background. So yeah, if I keep typing in some wrong information, you don't want to just end the program or give me some kind of error or say, sorry, wrong error, and just shut out the program. You want to ask me again, like, please write a correct answer, okay? So that may be one good reason to keep running while loop in your software. So fill in the loop condition so the user will be prompted for a choice over and over. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. Will be prompted for a choice over and over again, while choice is not equal to y, and choice does not equal an n. I think that should be an or, right? Because you can't pick n and y at the same time. So this is logically incorrect. It should say or. So the loop should keep on running till the user picks y or an r. Imagine if you were playing a game like rock, paper, scissors. You want to make sure that they pick either R for rock, P for paper, or S for scissors. And if they pick banana, it just asks them, like, go again. Pick RPS. Make sure it's one of the three. Okay, so sorry I didn't catch that. So here we take in the user input, are you enjoying the course? And while we can say, here we can check for the condition, while the user answer, or in this case, choice, is not yes or no, then ask for the choice again. So here we ask for the choice again, and then the loop just keeps running back and forth, okay? So I can say choice does not equal y, or choice does not equal n, okay? But how I would probably like to say is, well, not, no, actually, this is fine. This is fine. While choice is not y, or choice is not n, keep running, okay? So let's give this a try. Did you enjoy the course? Bananas. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Let's see. Codecademy. YouTube. Okay, it keeps catching it, so it's actually pretty smart. Let's try capital Y. Okay, let's try small y. What? It should have caught that. Is there an error in my logic here? Let's see. That should have caught that. So maybe my logic is incorrect here. Oh, right. Actually, they're right. I'm wrong. Because what they're actually saying is it shouldn't be the case that neither of them exist. Okay? So here we're saying that if both of these don't exist, then run this block of code. Okay? That's the only case you'll run this block of code. So here, let's... How do we end this? Okay, we actually can end it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to reset code. Oh, that didn't help either. Let's refresh. I've had some people who have gone stuck in an infinite loop of Codecademy, and they could never get out of it, and their Codecademy just freezes forever. So hopefully that's not going to happen to us. I think and should fix the problem. Okay, and now if I say y, that should work. Okay, so they were right. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Forgive me, Codecademy people. Infinite loops. An infinite loop is a loop that never exits. This can happen for a few reasons. You guys already know about why that happens. The condition cannot possibly false while 1 does not equal 2. Right? This condition can never ever be false. If I just said 1 does not equal 2, that statement is true, and it'll be true forever. We're not even using variable names there, so we can't change the value of 1 or 2. We're just using integers. That loop just keeps running until you write maybe something like break. That condition is going to keep giving you a true. You can also set a condition by mistake that is going to be a false forever. The logic of the loop prevents the loop condition from becoming false. Okay, so here they're showing you example of why your loop might run forever. So here you have this case, okay? Count is equal to 10. They start off with 10, and they say, while 10 is greater than 0. So 10 is greater than 0. We want to make this part false. When is this part going to be false? When we keep increasing count, or when we keep decreasing count? Again, to stop the loop, we need to make that statement, that condition, false. When is that condition going to be false? When count, we keep increasing count or keep decreasing count? Give you a few seconds to think about it. 3, 2, 1. When we keep increasing count, what's going to happen is that condition is never, ever, ever, ever going to be false. Because if you have 10, 10 is greater than 0 is true. If you have 11 is greater than 0, that's true. 100 greater than 0 is true. 1,000 greater than 0 is true. But if we decrement it every time, so it's like that, eventually when it comes to 0, is 0 greater than 0? No. Is that condition false? Yes, it is. If it's false, the loop stops, right? This condition, if value is still false, the loop stops. Okay, so just make sure first you understand which way you gotta go on the number line, right? Are we going to the right and increasing or left and decreasing to stop the loop? What makes the condition false? When does the loop end? So here they're showing you that a possible error you can do is instead of decrementing and reducing the value of count so it gets to 0, you're increasing the value of count, which means that you're going to keep going up, which means that the loop runs forever. So I'm not going to run it because it's going to crash my browser, but that's what would effectively happen. And just for fun, maybe we can run this in my terminal, and I'm going to say paste with spaces, right? Because we like spaces more. And you see that it keeps running forever, right? Just keeps running, okay? It won't stop. There wasn't a condition that makes it stop. So I'm gonna do Control-C on my Mac, and that breaks the loop in a terminal. Okay, so they just showed you a common error that can happen, but if I made it minus equal 1, which is like decremented by 1 every time, and I open up my terminal and I paste all of this there, well, you see it runs from 10, 9, 8, 1, and then it stops, okay? The loop in the editor has 2 problems. It's missing a colon, well, obviously that, and count is never incremented. That's a logical error. So one is a syntax error, which is the program won't allow you to run it, and the other one is a logical error, which means the program won't stop you, but it's a logical error. It's a flaw in our own logic. The latter will result in an infinite loop, so be sure to fix both before running. So we are going to fix it, and we're going to say count minus equal 1, or actually we should increment it because here count is 0 and this statement is true. And if I decrement it, this statement is still true, and still true, and still true, and still true, and still true, right? So I gotta go on the right side and increment it every time. So I'm gonna go here, change this to a plus sign. I don't need this comment, and that should be good. Runs 10 times, right? Because it starts from 0. Okay, infinite loops. So that was a lot about loops. I'll let your brains explode and ponder over that a little bit. Go practice it right now a little bit more. Loops have tons of applications. Don't tell me you don't have any ideas. Look for some ideas that you can work on, some basic problems, or something you want to just create for fun. It keeps asking for a name, and if it matches one of the names of your family members, it greets them in a specific way. If it's your spouse or your girlfriend or your mom or your dad, whoever, it greets them in their own unique way, and the program just keeps running forever, okay? So that's one example. Or you can create rock, paper, scissors. Go practice loops. They are actually absolutely amazing, very powerful tool. You go do that, and I will see you in the next video. Clever Programmer. This is Kazi from Clever Programmer, and the next part is going to be part 21. Please subscribe, go like the video, give it a thumbs up. That helps it reach more people, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.